Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Shreya Upadhyay, and in the next 1 hour we'll get you Maha Shivratri celebrations from across the country, the latest from poll-bound state, and of course the status of COVID-19 numbers. But before that, let's take a look at the headlines that we are tracking at this hour. Maha Shivratri is being celebrated nationwide. Devotees are reaching Shiv temples to offer their prayers. Thousands of devotees throng to Har Ki Pauri in Haridwar to take a holy bath. Har Ki Pauri lights up ahead of the first Shahi Snan of Mahakumbh 2021. President, Prime Minister and other leaders greet the nation on the occasion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches the Kindle version of Swami Chidbhavananda Ji's Bhagavad Gita. Says at the core of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to create wealth and values not only for ourselves but for the larger humanity. Also says Gita encourages debate and keeps our minds open. President Ramnath Kovind addresses the 41st convocation of Anna University in Chennai. Says the university is the cradle of knowledge and learning, hails its technological accomplishment, appreciates its role in bridging the gender gap. West Bengal BJP delegation meets with Chief Electoral Officer to demand the video footage of Nandigram incident and demands that it be made public. 8 people killed and 4 seriously injured in a tragic accident in Agra district of Uttar Pradesh. Police confirmed there were 12 people in the car who were from Bihar's Gaya. In international news, US Congress gives final approval to $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill, a historic legislative package that will turn the page on the corona pandemic, deliver direct relief to Americans. President Biden will sign this bill tomorrow. And in sports, Liverpool move past Leipzig into the quarter-finals. Barcelona bow out of the Champions League with a spirited performance at Paris Saint-Germain. And let's start with our big news. The festival of Maha Shivratri is being celebrated across the country with full religious fervour and gaiety. Maha Shivratri, or the Great Night of the Shiv, is a celebration of Lord Shiva's marriage with goddess Parvati. On this occasion, the devotees worship Lord Shiv, who is the destroyer of evil. The devotees also visit Shiv temples to pay their obeisance to seek God's blessings. Many even observe fast on the occasion. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended their greetings to the country on the auspicious occasion of Maha Shivratri. The festival of Maha Shivratri is being celebrated with enthusiasm in Madhya Pradesh as well. Priests at Ujjain's Mahakal temple offered prayers and performed Abhishek of Lord Shiv on the occasion of Maha Shivratri. And in Uttar Pradesh as well, on the occasion, lakhs of devotees are taking the holy dip in various rivers and worshipping Lord Shiv in temples. In Gorakhpur, devotees arrived in huge numbers at the Jharkhandi Mahadev temple to offer their prayers on Maha Shivratri. Meanwhile, devotees in Moradabad were also seen offering prayers to Lord Shiv on the occasion of Maha Shivratri today. And in Maharashtra as well, devotees offered prayers at the Bhim Shankar temple in Pune. Maha Shivratri is also being celebrated with religious fervour and enthusiasm in Devbhoomi, Uttarakhand. Thousands of devotees took the holy dip at the Har Ki Pauri Ghat in Haridwar. The snans are a part of the Kumbh, which are to be held from the 1st of April to the 30th of April in Haridwar. Now, due to the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19 protocols are being followed throughout the duration of the Kumbh Mela this year. The Mahakumbh is celebrated once in 12 years at Haridwar, Allahabad, Ujjain and Nasik. Maha Shivratri is also being celebrated at the Faos Lord Shiv temple in Kedarnath. Since the doors of the auspicious Shiv temple is closed, devotees offered prayers to the Shivling made by snow at the premises of the Kedarnath temple.
Jai! Baba Kedar ki Jai! Maha Shivratri Mahaparv ki Jai!
And in the national capital too, Maha Shivratri is being celebrated with enthusiasm. Devotees are offering prayers at various temples of the city, including the Gauri Shankar temple, to mark the occasion. An acclaimed sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik also created a sand art dedicated to Lord Shiv and Goddess Parvati on the occasion of Maha Shivratri at the Puri beach in Odisha. And on the occasion of Maha Shivratri today, an artist in Vadodara painted Shiv's symbols like trident and with acrylic colors on Bilva Patras. He displayed his paintings outside a temple. Devotees across the country are offering prayers to Lord Shiv in their own small and big ways. And not just India, Maha Shivratri is also being celebrated in Nepal. Here are the visuals of Nepal's Pashupatinath temple in Kathmandu. Devotees are visiting the temple to offer prayers to Lord Shiv and Shakti. Now, in other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today virtually launched the Kindle version of Swami Chidbhavananda's Bhagavad Gita. The Prime Minister said that in the middle of a fast-paced life, the Gita provides an oasis of wisdom. He added that it is a practical guide for several dimensions of life. The Prime Minister also stressed on the importance of e-books, saying that the Kindle version of the Gita will connect more with youngsters and youngsters with its noble thoughts.
E-books are becoming very popular, especially among the youth. Therefore, this effort will connect more youngsters with the noble thoughts of the Gita. Friends, this e-book will also deepen the connect between the eternal Gita and the glorious Tamil culture. The vibrant Tamil diaspora spread globally will be able to read it easily.
Well, PM Modi said that the beauty of the Gita is in its depth, diversity and flexibility. He added that Gita teaches us the value for the larger humanity, which is also the core of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
At the core of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to create wealth and values not only for ourselves but for the larger humanity. We believe that an Atmanirbhar Bharat is good for the world. In the recent past, when the world needed medicines, India did whatever it could to provide them. Our scientists worked in a quick time to come out with vaccines. And now, India is humbled that vaccines made in India are going around the world. We want to heal as well as help humanity. This is exactly what the Gita teaches us.
And the Prime Minister also stressed that anybody inspired by Gita will always be compassionate and democratic in nature.
Acharya Vinoba Bhave described the Gita as a mother who take him in her lap if he stumbled. Greats like Mahatma Gandhi, Lokmanya Tilak, Mahakavi Subramaniam Bharati were inspired by the Gita. The Gita makes us think. It inspires us to question. It encourages debate. The Gita keeps our mind open. Anybody who is inspired by the Gita will always be compassionate by nature and democratic in temperament.
The Prime Minister said that India is humbled that Made in India COVID-19 vaccines are going around the world and helping people, exactly what the Bhagavad Gita teaches us.
The world is fighting a tough battle against a once-in-lifetime global pandemic. The economic and social impacts are also far-reaching. In such a time, the power shown in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita becomes ever relevant. It could provide strength and direction to once again emerge victorious from the challenges humanity faces. In India, we saw many instances of this. Our people-powered fight against COVID-19. The outstanding spirit of the people, the courage of our citizens. One can say that behind this are glimpses of what Gita highlights.
Moving on, President Ramnath Kovind has emphasized the role of education as a catalyst for change and said that youth were the most potent agent for social transformation. Addressing the 41st convocation of the Anna University in Chennai today, the President said that educated youth, given the right direction, could bring revolutionary changes in the course of history. The National Education Policy 2020 aimed to achieve this by implementing a modern education system based on research, skill and acumen relevant to the present needs. He said the implementation of the new education policy would create a brigade of researchers who would take the country to greater heights of development as befitting national aspirations.
The new policy seeks to implement a modern education system based on research, skill and acumen relevant to the evolving needs of the present. At the same time, it would also include within its domain our rich cultural heritage in consonance with the futuristic outlook. The policy focuses on inculcating moral values and promoting understanding of Indian culture. I am confident that the implementation of this policy would usher in an era of modern learning and education.
The President urged students to combine compassion with knowledge to help the nation march ahead on the path of progress while promoting a culture of caring and giving back to the society which had nurtured them. This excellence displayed by women was a reflection of the future of India as a developed nation.
I am reminded of the great poet Subramanya Bharati, who wrote, Purna Jnanam Polindin Nadu Buddha Piran Arul Pongai Nadu, which says, our country, India, is blessed with complete knowledge. It is this place where resides the compassion of Gautam Buddha. I am confident that all the students receiving degrees today will walk this path in their life ahead and make their alma mater and our country proud.
All right, let's now move on to our developing story. Well, West Bengal Bharatiya Janata Party delegation today met with the Chief Electoral Officer of West Bengal in Kolkata. The delegation has demanded the video footage of the Nandigram incident that led to Chief Minister and TMC Chief Mamata Banerjee sustaining a foot injury, and they demanded that it be made public. BJP leader Swapan Das Gupta in a tweet had informed about the meeting and said that it is customary for the Election Commission to have video teams with candidates. The BJP delegation also requested to make the video public. Earlier, the West Bengal BJP in a letter to the Election Commission has demanded the whole incident in Nandigram be probed thoroughly and the video footage of the incident be made public. Meanwhile, a TMC delegation also met the Election Commission and demanded a probe in the alleged attack on the TMC chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The TMC Supremo is being treated at the SSKM hospital in Kolkata after she suffered injuries during her Nandigram visit on Wednesday. And for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Rajiv Bhattacharya from Kolkata. Rajiv, what's the latest on the situation, the BJP-TMC tussle going on in West Bengal? What has the Election Commission said on the BJP demanding that the video be made public and a probe be ordered into that incident which Mamata Banerjee says in which she got injured?
Right, Shreya, as you said, a BJP delegation met the Election Commission this afternoon and presented a letter to the Commission demanding that the video footage of the incident be made public and be put in the public domain so that people can take a look and decide for themselves. A delegation of the BJP also went to the hospital to call on the Chief Minister, but were unable to meet her because the doctors weren't allowing any visitors to see the Chief Minister. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister is in a government hospital and in the trauma care department of the hospital. Last night, after she was brought in to the hospital, an MRI scan was done on her, and the MRI scan has revealed a crack in her ankle. So that raises a big question about whether she'll be able to participate in the election campaigning, as it were, and even if she were able to participate, how far and how vigorously can she participate? Meanwhile, the BJP delegation has also raised this question that the Chief Minister is the person who's allotted Z category security, and very senior police officials accompanying her on this visit to Nandigram, where she had gone to file a nomination, and at the same time the policemen are also posted on duty. You might recall the Chief Minister said that when the incident had occurred, there were no policemen to be seen, and the question raised by Rajya Sabha MP Swapan Das Gupta as to the video footage of the incident will again probably answer a lot of questions if the Commission were to take a stand on that. Shreya.
Rajiv, apart from this, we know that the election is coming up in the state. What have been the arrangements? What is the latest on that? We know COVID remains a huge challenge in a time such as these. How's the Election Commission preparing for that?
Well, I think perhaps keeping COVID in mind, the Commission has decided to hold an 8-phase election in the state, and on the 27th, that's the first phase of the election, you'll have only 30 seats going to the polls. And the polling hour has also been extended by about 1.5 hours this time to facilitate the entry and exit of voters. Apart from that, the Commission has also made certain other arrangements for senior citizens and for otherwise able voters to cast their mandate. And therefore, the Commission seems to be prepared. The Central Paramilitary Forces have fanned out with the districts. They're conducting their route marches, building confidence among the voters, and what is in their parlance called area domination. The area domination by the security forces has already started, and they're doing these routine marches to build confidence among the voters so that they can come out early and vote, of course, while keeping COVID protocols in mind. Sure.
All right, Rajiv, thanks very much for joining us with those inputs. We'll have to see what the Election Commission does next in West Bengal, where the BJP and TMC are in a tussle ahead of the elections in the state. Thanks very much for joining us with those inputs, Rajiv Bhattacharya. All right, moving on to our national prime segment now. Okay, in Uttar Pradesh, at least 8 people were killed and 4 were seriously injured in a tragic accident in the Agra district. The accident took place when the four-wheeler in which 12 people from Bihar's Gaya were travelling got out of control and hit a truck. Injured people are being treated at a hospital. Minister of State for Culture Prahlad Singh Patel today inaugurated the digitization of 4.5 crore pages of records and exhibition on Mahatma Gandhi and the non-cooperation movement. The work will be completed within the next 3 years. Besides, the minister also inaugurated an exhibition on the non-cooperation movement of Mahatma Gandhi.
दुनिया के संग्रहण में नेशनल आर्काइव के पास में जो अभूतपूर्व दस्तावेज हैं, उसमें दुनिया भी हमसे कई बार मांगती है। ये हमारे लिए गौरव की बात है। लगभग 18 करोड़ पन्ने आर्काइव के पास में संपत्ति के रूप में है। एक लक्ष्य है कि 3 साल के भीतर हम लगभग 4.5 करोड़ पन्नों को डिजिटलाइज करेंगे। उसके पीछे उद्देश्य सिर्फ इतना ही है कि जो भी शोधार्थी है या कोई अध्ययन करने वाला व्यक्ति है या कोई अपना रिकॉर्ड दुरुस्त करना चाहता है, ऐसे लोगों के लिए ऑनलाइन ये चीजें उपलब्ध हो सके।
Well, India's 75 years of independence will be celebrated as Amrit Mahotsav, which will be kicked off by Prime Minister Narendra Modi from Gujarat's Sabarmati Ashram on the 12th of March. Mahatma Gandhi had started the Dandi March on the same day. Now, 81 people had accompanied Mahatma Gandhi in this march, and Union Minister Prahlad Patel will also start a Padyatra from Sabarmati tomorrow. He will be joined by 81 social activists from different states in this Padyatra.
कल 12 मार्च को साबरमती से आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष के अमृत महोत्सव का संक्रांत करेंगे। 12 मार्च दांडी यात्रा की तारीख है, जो 5 अप्रैल तक पूरी हुई है। गुजरात राज्य के 81 लोग नौजवान इस यात्रा को पूरा करेंगे और दूसरा ग्रुप एक और 81 लोगों का होगा, जिसमें लगभग 11 राज्य के लोग हैं, जिसमें मैं भी शामिल हूँ। वो 75 किलोमीटर की यात्रा करेगा, जो साबरमती से नाडियाड तक की होगी। देश के 75 प्रमुख स्थानों पर सभी राज्यों में ये कार्यक्रम आयोजित किए जा रहे हैं। गुजरात और मध्य प्रदेश ऐसे राज्य हैं जिनने अपने राज्य में भी 75 कार्यक्रम रखे हुए हैं, और इसलिए दिल्ली में भी राय पिथौरा में आर्कियोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया का जो मॉन्यूमेंट है राय पिथौरा किला, वहाँ पर लोकसभा अध्यक्ष और हमारे तमाम वरिष्ठ मंत्री जो दिल्ली में हैं उस कार्यक्रम में शामिल होंगे।
Well, news from Jammu and Kashmir now, where at least 2 terrorists were gunned down in an encounter that broke out in Kandipura village of Anantnag town in South Kashmir district. The presence of 2 terrorists was reported from South Kashmir's Kandipura area on Wednesday. The gunfight had erupted last evening when a joint team of police and security forces launched a cordon and search operation following the presence of the terrorists in the area. The operation was suspended for the night and resumed early morning today. 2 unidentified terrorists have been killed so far in the gunfight. As a goodwill gesture, Border Security Force handed over 2 minor Bangladeshi nationals to their parents at Rangiapota border outpost in Krishnanagar in West Bengal. Now, they had entered the Indian territory with the intent of earning money. Border Guard Bangladesh, along with their parents, approached the BSF for taking them over, and as the apprehended persons were minor, considering humanitarian ground and as a goodwill gesture, the apprehended minors were handed over to their parents during a flag meeting. And after that, let's now take a look at the COVID-19 update from across the country. As per the Union Health Ministry, 18,100 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,938,146. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 96.92%. India's total active caseload stands at over 1.89 lakh today. The country's present active caseload consists of 1.68% of the total positive cases. The fatality rate stands at 1.4%. Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu continue to report high number of COVID daily new cases. Maharashtra has reported the highest daily new cases, followed by Kerala and Punjab. Now, India's battle against COVID-19 continues. Under India's largest COVID-19 vaccination program, more than 2.56 crore COVID-19 vaccine doses were administered through 4,78,168 sessions, as per the provisional report till 7 a.m. in the morning today. Now, these include 71,97,100 healthcare workers with the first dose, 40,13,249 with the second dose, healthcare workers with the second dose, and 70,54,659 frontline workers with the first dose, and 6,37,281 frontline workers as well with the second dose. 9,67,058 beneficiaries aged more than 45 years with specific comorbidities were administered the first dose. Meanwhile, 58,15,664 beneficiaries aged more than 60 years also received a dose. Now, as on day 54 of the vaccination drive, which is the 10th of March, a total of 13,17,357 vaccine doses were given, out of which 10,30,243 beneficiaries were vaccinated across 20,299 sessions for the first dose, and 2,87,114 healthcare and frontline workers received the second dose of vaccine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that his mother, Hiraben Modi, has received the first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Making the announcement on Twitter, PM Modi said, and I quote, "Happy to share that my mother has taken the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine today. I urge everyone to help and motivate people around you who are eligible to take the vaccine," unquote. Now, Iran will receive Made in India vaccines under the Vaccine Maitri initiative. This consignment includes 1,25,000 doses of the co-vaccine exported from the Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech on Wednesday. Iranian Health Ministry spokesperson Kianush Jahanpour confirmed this on his Twitter handle. And now let's have a look at what's making news across the globe. right, the US Congress approved a massive $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package on Wednesday, authorizing a flurry of new federal spending to help millions of families still struggling amid the pandemic. The 220 to 211 vote in the House of Representatives, almost entirely along party lines, sends to President Biden's desk one of the largest economic rescue packages in US history. He will sign the bill tomorrow. Following the approval, President Biden said that the bill is about giving the backbone of this nation, the essential workers, the working people who built this country, the people who keep this country going, a fighting chance.
I want to thank Speaker Pelosi and the House of Representatives today for passing the bill, and I will be signing into law shortly. This bill represents a historic victory for the American people. I look forward to signing it later this week.
Well, Democrats described the legislation as a critical response to a pandemic that has killed over 5 lakh people and thrown millions out of work.
The American Rescue Plan, Mr. Speaker, is a force for fairness and justice in America. This legislation is one of the most transformative and historic bills any of us will ever have the opportunity to support.
We say to America, help is on the way. Help is on the way. You will receive $1,400 checks by the end of March. Help is on the way. Vaccines will be available far more quickly to far more people in a shorter time. Help is on the way. Our schools will open safely and more quickly than we thought. Help is on the way. Half of America's children who are in poverty will not be in poverty because of this bill. Help is on the way. This is one of the most consequential pieces of legislation we have passed in decades. And you know what we can show America? That we can get things done to make their lives better. And we will continue to do that through the rest of this session.
All right, let's now take a look at the benefits that this bill will ensure. A one-off direct payments worth $1,400 will be sent off to most American extension of weekly jobless benefit payments of $300 until September, allocation of $350 billion to state and local governments, allocation of some $130 billion to schools reopening, allocation of $49 billion for expanded COVID-19 testing research, an allocation of $14 billion for vaccine distribution. Meanwhile, Vice President of the US, Kamala Harris, has tweeted the moment when the American Rescue Plan was passed in the House. She said families across the country will sleep better knowing that help is here. And US President Joe Biden has said that after Americans are vaccinated, US looks forward to share the surplus vaccines with the rest of the world. President Biden said that this at a press briefing after a joint announcement with the chief executives of Johnson & Johnson and Merck about their joint effort to produce more vaccines. He also added that US has already committed $4 billion to COVAX Global Initiative in its bid to help the rest of the world in this time of crisis. The American president said that their first priority is the safety of American citizens, but they are going to try and help the rest of the world as well.
And today, I'm directing Jeff and my HHS team to produce another 100 million doses and purchase another 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I'm doing this because in this wartime efforts, we need maximum flexibility. There's always a chance that we'll encounter unexpected challenges, or there'll be a new need for a vaccine effort, a vaccination effort. A lot can happen, a lot can change, and we need to be prepared.
Well, Texas has lifted its statewide mask mandate and business capacity limits on Wednesday, becoming the second state to do so after Mississippi. Several major retailers, grocery and restaurant chains in Texas, however, said that they would still require that masks be worn in their stores. Texas was one of the first states to reopen its economy after the first wave of pandemic cases last May, and the nation's second most populous state led the way again last week when Governor Greg Abbott announced the relaxation amid declines in new daily COVID-19 cases and with the rollout of vaccines. Colombia has rolled out its vaccine program to inoculate the elderly. Colombia has secured vaccine agreements with a raft of pharmaceutical companies and the World Health Organization-backed COVAX program. Colombia is awaiting some 61.5 million vaccine doses, which will allow it to inoculate about 32.5 million people. This includes 10 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine, enough for 5 million people. Now, Colombia has reported over 2.2 million coronavirus cases and more than 60,000 deaths. Meanwhile, Brazil registered a gloomy record with 1,972 new COVID-19 deaths in a single day, according to the country's health ministry. It registered 70,764 new cases of coronavirus, reaching a total of 11.12 million infections. Brazil has the second highest number of fatalities due to the coronavirus, with 268,370 deaths after United States. The reports say that growing number of cases in the cities risk a collapse of their health systems. The government has been slow to purchase and distribute vaccines, with some 3.5% of the population having gotten one shot. The Australian government unveiled a $928 million tourism support package today aimed at boosting local travel while international routes remain closed because of the coronavirus pandemic. The government will subsidize 8 lakh tickets on domestic flights to 13 destinations around the country that mostly rely on international tourists and offer cheap loans to small tourism operators. The package includes helping airlines with wages for international flying staff, keeping skills current, maintaining mothballed aircraft and bringing planes out of storage.
800,000 tickets to ride for Australians to go out and ensure that they can experience this amazing country. That's what this is about. To keep people in their jobs, we've got to put planes in the air and we've got to put tourists on the ground. The Australian tourism industry needs more tourists. They want to get on and run the businesses and welcome the tourists and provide the world-class services that they do. They don't want to stay at home. They don't want to be sitting there just receiving taxpayers' money endlessly. They want to be running their businesses. They want to be giving Australians and ultimately later to be welcoming international tourists to their businesses and giving them the greatest experience than anyone could give in tourism anywhere in the world.
Meanwhile, Poland reported 17,260 new daily coronavirus cases on Wednesday. This is, remember, the highest number of cases reported in the country since November. Poland grapples with its third wave of the pandemic. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the country have crossed 1.8 million, and the total death toll in the country has mounted to 45,997. The sharp rise in the cases is attributed to the contagious variant of the virus first identified in Britain. And now let's quickly take you through the update on the COVID-19 status from across the world. Now, so far, over 11 crore 86 lakh people have contracted COVID-19 globally, while the tally of recoveries stand over 9 crore 42 lakh. And they have recovered from it. The COVID-19 has claimed over 26 lakh 33,000 lives worldwide. US, of course, remains the worst affected from COVID-19, where more than 2 crore 98 lakh cases of COVID-19 have been reported. The country's fatalities have crossed 5 lakh 42,000. And now let's shift our focus on the situation in Myanmar. The UN Security Council has strongly condemned the violence against peaceful protesters in Myanmar. In a statement released today, the UNSC expressed deep concern at the arbitrary detention of members of the government, including State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint and others. It called for the immediate release of all those detained arbitrarily. The Security Council also expressed its continued support for the democratic transition in Myanmar and stressed the need to uphold democratic institutions and processes. It also extended its support to the ASEAN initiative, calling for an exercise of utmost restraint by all sides and seeking peaceful solution through constructive dialogue. Meanwhile, protests continued in Myanmar for the 38th day in several cities and townships. More than 60 protesters have been killed and some 2,000 people have been detained by security forces since the 1st of February military takeover against the civilian government headed by the state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. Reports of protests from South Okalapa Davai, Mayang and Tamu in the Chin state are pouring in on social media. At least 6 people are reported to have been killed in the police firing on protesters in the Mayang township of the Magwe region, though there is no official confirmation on this as yet. The state-owned MRTV announced arrest warrants against 29 youth leaders of the protest, and the police raided places in North Okalapa district of Yangon, arresting about 100 people. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will meet top Chinese officials on the 18th of March during a stop in Alaska. This would be the first high-level in-person contact between the two countries under the Biden administration. Now, during a congressional hearing, Blinken said that meeting with the Chinese officials is a chance to lay out in quote-unquote frank terms U.S. concerns with Beijing. He told the committee that the meeting also will explore whether there are avenues to cooperate with Beijing.
This is an important opportunity for us to lay out in very frank terms the many concerns that we have with Beijing's actions and behavior that are challenging the security, the prosperity and the values of the United States and our partners and allies.
Well, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres marked the 10th anniversary of the Syria conflict, which was a crackdown by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad on pro-democracy protesters in 2011-led civil war, with Moscow backing Assad and Washington supporting the opposition. Millions of people have fled Syria and millions are internally displaced. The UN Secretary General said that Syria is a living nightmare where about half the children have never lived a day without war, and 60% of the Syrians are at risk of going hungry.
10 years ago, the violent suppression of peaceful popular demonstrations in Syria set the country on the path to a horrific war. After a decade of conflict, in the middle of a global pandemic, and faced with a steady stream of new crises, Syria has fallen off the front page. And yet, the situation remains a living nightmare.
A Greek police officer has been suspended after the release of an amateur video showing him beating a man with a baton during lockdown checks in the square of the Athens. The video sparked protests across the country against police violence. The police, meanwhile, said that the officer had been suspended. They also said some 16 people had been detained during the clashes, and one is to face charges of attempted murder over the attack of the police officer injured. News now from neighbourhood Bangladesh, where the country will celebrate the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the Golden Jubilee of the liberation of the country between March 17th and 26th. Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan told the media on Wednesday that the program will be held at the National Parade Square in Dhaka. Talking about the arrangements for holding the programs, the Home Minister said that all guests will need to come to the venue with COVID-19 negative certificates to take part in the event. Security arrangements for the dignitaries and foreign diplomats visiting the program will be made. However, because of the continuing corona pandemic in the country, only 500 people will be invited from different sectors, and the guests will be invited in phases. Out of the 10 days program, functions on 4 days will be held with physical attendance. Rest of the programs will be done virtually. Nicaragua's San Cristobal erupted, spewing large plumes of smoke and ash and showering surrounding areas in soot and cinders. The authorities have recommended nearby populations to keep calm and stay 2 kilometers away from the crater of the volcano. Although there were no reports of injuries as a result of the eruption of Nicaragua's tallest volcano. And after that, it's time for stories from the world of sports. My colleague Narayan joins us. All right, Narayan, get us the latest from the world of sports.
Thanks, Shreya. Let's get started with the cricketing action. Following his breathtaking century in the 4th Test against England, young Indian wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant on Wednesday achieved a career-best 7th spot in the ICC Test rankings. Pant has jumped 7 places after smashing a match-winning 101 in the Ahmedabad Test, which was won by an innings and 25 runs to clinch the series 3-1. The 23-year-old shares the 7th place in the batsman ranking with compatriot Rohit Sharma, who moved up 1 spot. Indian spin duo of Ravichandran Ashwin and Akshar Patel, who ripped through the England innings time and again during the series, also made it memorable in the bowlers ranking. Ashwin, the player of the series, has leapfrogged New Zealand's Neil Wagner to the 2nd place among the bowlers, the first time since August 2017. The India all-rounder had a stellar series against England, scoring a century on his home ground, and he finished it with 32 wickets from the 4 matches of the Test series. Veteran Achanta Sharat Kamal bowed out of the World Table Tennis Star Contender Series after going down in straight games to world number 12 Dmitry Otrachov in the men's singles pre-quarterfinals on Wednesday. Sharat ranked 32nd, lost 9-11, 8-11, 6-11 to the German in a lopsided contest. Sharat showed consistency in the first game against Dmitry, who recently won the WTT Contenders title and came close, but he could never get under the skin of a man who was in superb form. Now shifting focus to football, Liverpool secured a 2-0 win over RB Leipzig to advance to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. Goals from Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane ensured Jurgen Klopp's troops of a berth in the last 8 as the tie finished 4-0 on aggregate. Mo Salah opened the scoring in the 70th minute to give Liverpool the lead. Sadio Mane doubled their advantage minutes later following some brilliant work from Divock Origi. On the right flank, Jurgen Klopp started Thiago Alcantara, Fabinho and Jorginho Wijnaldum in the midfield. Returning to his natural position, Fabinho dominated the proceedings in the center of the park. His positioning, tackling and tidy ball progression were on point. Moreover, his presence in the midfield allowed Alcantara to operate more independently. Meanwhile, the first half goal from Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi ensured that the Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona shared spoils in the second legs of their UEFA Champions League round of 16 tie. The hosts came into the fixture with an overwhelming advantage, having picked up a comfortable 4-1 victory at Camp Nou 3 weeks ago. Barcelona manager Ronald Koeman made a bold tactical switch as he sent his side out in a 3-4-3 formation, with Frankie de Jong dropping back into defense. Barcelona had the odds stacked against them and needed a quick start if they were to have any chance of progression. This was exactly what happened as Barcelona started the game on front foot and kept PSG packed in their own half. In what was a vintage throwback to the great Barca team of the past, the visitors were sleek with their movement and one-touch passing that constantly passed by PSG defense. So, and end of era in the European football as the Lionel Messi's team Barca and Ronaldo's Juventus both are out of the Champions League. That's all in this from the sporting arena. Back to Shreya.
Well, thanks very much, Narayan, for all those updates from the world of sports. And now let's shift our focus. World Kidney Day is being observed today. Kidney health is a must for everyone, everywhere. Watch this report to know about the ways that can help in preventing kidney disease.
Chronic kidney disease is a progressive loss in kidney function over the period of months or years that affects a large number of people. Every year, second Thursday of March is observed as World Kidney Day. World Kidney Day aims to raise awareness about the importance of our kidneys to our overall health and to reduce the frequency and impact of kidney disease and its associated health problems worldwide.
Greetings to all on the occasion of the World Kidney Day. This year, the theme is Living Well with Kidney Disease. The diagnosis of kidney disease poses a big challenge both to the patient and the relations. In its advanced stage, kidney disease causes several symptoms like fatigue, breathlessness, depression, gastrointestinal problems, and sleep disorders. Besides, it reduces the working capacity of the patient and the relations. So the focus of the World Kidney Day this year is to increase awareness about effective symptom management and patient empowerment. With appropriate conservative treatment in the initial stages and renal replacement therapy subsequently, it is possible to live well and feel well with kidney disease. The goal is complete medical, social, and occupational rehabilitation of the patient.
Chronic kidney disease is a major threat for kidney health. There are certain factors that impact our kidney and increase the risk of kidney disease.
Prevention of kidney disease is actually very simple. Leading a healthy lifestyle is of paramount importance, namely maintaining an ideal body weight, exercising regularly, not smoking, and minimizing mental stress. Intake of a balanced diet which is rich in fruits and vegetables with minimum consumption of salt and sugar, taking plenty of fluids but not soft drinks goes a long way in prevention of both kidney and cardiovascular diseases. All adults must have their blood pressure checked at least once every year. Avoid taking long-term painkillers which are harmful to the kidneys. There is a need to focus on the high-risk groups, namely the diabetics and hypertensives. They need good control of blood pressure and sugar on a long-term basis. Correct use of renoprotective drugs can help in retarding progression of kidney disease.
Controlled blood pressure, reduced salt intake, and an active lifestyle may help to reduce the risk of developing kidney disease. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
And now it's time for our next segment, Live Prime, where we bring you stories from the world of art, culture, cinema, and science and innovation. Stories that are bringing smiles, stories that are changing lives. The Macau Library Week is inviting book lovers to various libraries in Macau to exchange books. The event will run till the 11th of April. These visuals are from Old Court Building, which is all set to witness the book exchange event on April 24th and 25th. The Cultural Affairs Bureau has pledged to disinfect the books and to closely monitor the epidemic situation, as scores of people will gather there to take part in the event. Let's now take a look at how a community-based tourist spot, Con Chim Islet in Vietnam, has emerged as a popular tourist attraction. Situated 15 kilometers from Tra Vinh province, Con Chim Islet has become a new and popular community-based tourist destination this year. The authorities and residents have successfully managed to preserve the bucolic integrity of the Mekong Delta countryside with its unique features such as small lodges, roofed by coconut canopies and big brown water jars in front of each house. Tourists can also get a chance to enjoy unique meals made by local residents, and they can also participate in various activities such as fishing, catching crabs, picking coconuts, or playing traditional games. With its fresh air and rustic landscape, this place reminds Vietnamese people who live abroad of their unforgettable childhood. Now, the art of people is a true mirror of their mind, and French artist Francis Picabia's Window of Mind and artwork La Corrida is set to go up for auction. The painting depicts a bullfighting scene in an arena with a matador standing on his heels and waving a red cape, with a bull charging behind him and the back of a horse-mounted picador scene on the foreground. We leave you with the visuals of these beautiful art pieces. Take a look. Thank you so much for joining us in Midday Prime today. Namaskar.